Hey guys, so this is the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo booth at E3 this year, and I'm lucky enough to get to show you guys what this amazing booth is like. When you enter the booth, you get to walk into the Hyrule Wilds. Everything in this booth is scaled to Link's size. So you can see over here the Temple of Time. Hunting and cooking is an integral part of this Legend of Zelda game, which is different than any other Legend of Zelda game. This booth aims to be fully immersive. There are even pressure plates in the floors that trigger certain sounds and events. The air is scented so that you get the full experience, and the weather changes over time. So right now it's this gorgeous sunset or sunrise color. Later it becomes evening. Sometimes it storms. Alright, so this is the VIP deck. This is the view from above, if you can believe it. From up here you can see all the goings on of the booth. I just caught a lizard. So I'm a little bit into this gameplay demo already. I've already played a lot of it actually, and I just wanted to show you guys a little bit because it's amazing. I wasn't paying attention. I could have gotten that. I totally could have. So one of the cool features is the climbing. Are you guys ready? You can just see how expansive it is. This is the first open world Zelda game. So the idea is, if I see a point over there, I can go there. That's the idea. Happen to know something cute as Endless Rock. So the Koroks are back in this game, which is really exciting because I've always loved them. And it's kind of like a collecting thing. I felt like that kind of makes sense. Every year my boyfriend does this thing called. One of the coolest features in this game is called Magnesis. It's a rune skill that you get, and it allows you to pick up anything magnetic, so anything metal. Yeah. And it's really cool when you decide to just come through. Sorry, yeah. And rip people with it. It's so awesome. It's really versatile, and that's one of the things that I love most about this game is that it allows for a lot of strategy. They give you so many different tools to do one thing. Hey guys, how's it going? I am very excited to share with you my opinion on the Zelda Breath of the Wild E3 demo gameplay. So I was lucky enough to be hired by Nintendo as a game demonstrator for their Nintendo booth at E3. What this means is that they hired me on literally just for the show. I got to play the game, I learned a little bit about the game so that I could show other people how to play the game as they demoed it on the show floor. So I'm very excited to tell you a little bit more about my experience, but I have to say this little disclaimer before I continue. I don't technically work for Nintendo. I'm not a rep. I don't know anything. They didn't tell me anything. So anything that I say throughout this entire video, or just in general, anything I say at all, is really just my opinion, and none of it is insider information, you know, all speculation. Here we go. I would say I probably spent about 2 hours in total playing the actual demo. So I didn't just spend the typical 35 minutes. So what I'm gonna tell you is coming from that place. I love this game. I am so excited for this game, and I really hope you are too. Let me tell you why. If you've written off Zelda games, if you've written off Nintendo, which I was pretty close to doing after this game got delayed over and over and over again, and then they announced it was gonna be on the NX, which is their next console, as well as the Wii U. And I only bought the Wii U so that I could play the new Zelda title, and so when I found out that it was going to be co-released on the NX, I was like, why would I also play it on the Wii U? I'm just going to buy the NX. I was pretty irritated with Nintendo, I'm not going to lie, but I got to play Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I am a full believer once again. Let me tell you why. Number one, the first thing about this Zelda that makes it different from any other Zelda is that it's open world. They like to call it open air. And the reason that this makes it different is because a lot of the problem that Zelda has had over the years with its different titles is the fact that it feels so linear. It's story-based, it's a puzzle-based story game, and so, you know, you have to hit step 1 in order to hit step 2 in order to get to step 3, and it just felt very linear. It didn't feel very free. This is a complete departure from this. And what's interesting is I'm not just talking about the map, it's open world in a lot of aspects. Nintendo has done a really amazing job of creating a full-fledged immersive world with lots of different varieties of options. There's a few other elements that are a little bit different too. If you've seen any of the gameplay demo, you'll see there's an inventory with food and potions and, most importantly, armor and weapons. So Link no longer has just the few set weapons that the game allows. He has a plethora of weapons to choose from that he can switch back and forth at will. This sort of seems a little bit like an RPG element, but it does have a Zelda flavor to it. A lot of the weapons and equipment have durability, so you can only swing the tree branch around for so long before it becomes destroyed and it explodes in this burst of blue sparkles. It's actually really beautiful, like any Zelda game, let's be honest. So that opens the door for a lot of different possibilities. One of the tools that you get early on in the demo is a woodcutter's axe, and you can actually cut trees down. You can go up to almost any tree in the forest and cut it down, and that's something that a Zelda game has never really done. I mean, it's not unfamiliar to other open world RPG games, but it's different to Zelda. And I think they find a way to do it that has the flavor and personality that a Zelda game has. Another element of this game is that you have to actually hunt and cook for survival. So there's a little bit of a survival aspect of it, which kind of brings in this theme that keeps coming up of the wild. What does that mean? It's sort of, you can't really see where the game lies in the timeline. They haven't released that information yet, but it seems like it's in the future. And there's a couple reasons for that. A lot of the elements of the world seem very high-tech. He kind of wakes up from 100-year slumber out of this cryostasis machine, and then you get this big expansive view of the shrine, the resurrection shrine that he wakes up in, and there's all these lights, and he goes up and picks up his Sheikah slate, which is a huge part of the demo. I mean, he always has it with him. It works as a map,
It works as a scope, so you can scope out, it works as binoculars essentially. And it's basically a tablet. And I don't want to call it a tablet because that's really simplifying it, but it looks exactly like the Wii U gamepad controller. So that's sort of interesting as well. So it seems like it's set in the future, yet everything's fallen into this disarray. Everywhere is just ruins, which was a really interesting place for them to choose to start the demo, because for those of us who have the heart of Ocarina of Time beating within us, we get to see the Temple of Time in total disarray. We got to see, pavement that used to be the plaza of the Hyrule Castle. I mean, just some really, really interesting world building. Very interesting environment to start the demo. It really sets the scene very well. Another thing that's going to be very different in this Zelda game is that Link is no longer a linear item collector. It doesn't seem like he collects a new item from every dungeon, so to speak. From what we can tell from the demo, there are shrines, and in each shrine there's a trial or some sort of puzzle, and sometimes he gets a rune there. From what we can tell, we don't know if it's gonna be all the time or not, but what we have heard is that there are over 100 shrines in the game. That's a lot. Some of the runes that I actually got to play around with in the demo used to be items in some of the other Zelda games. So one of the runes was a remote bomb, a round bomb that you could roll down a hill into an enemy camp and then choose when to detonate it. Another item was the remote square bomb, where it would sit exactly where you placed it. It wouldn't roll down a hill. So that adds, they seem like very similar items, but they're both used for very different strategies. The coolest one is magnesis, and that's the ability to control metal objects. You can sort of telekinetically lift them and move them around, and it's like you've got this giant magnet power. It is so cool, and it works really well with the motion controls, which I know some of you are thinking, Skyward Sword, that was a disaster, no more motion controls. But trust me, this is limited to what they can do very well, and it actually turns out great. There's very intelligent monster AI, and what that allows for is deception and stealth and distraction. I can set off a bomb a couple yards away from an enemy camp and they'll all go running over there to investigate, and then I can go over to the other end of camp and steal all their weapons so they don't have any weapons. Stealth is a much bigger part of this game than it was in, say, Wind Waker when you were sneaking into the prison castle. So you're not just hiding under a barrel anymore, you can actually crouch down, and you have a little sound meter at the bottom of your screen that shows you how much sound you're making. And this doesn't just work for battles, this is also important for hunting. So you can sneak up on a wild boar and, slash it from behind. Or you can sneak up on a bird and shoot it with your bow and arrow, or you can sneak up on a beetle and catch it. So stealth is a huge part of this game, and I think from what I've experienced of it, they did a pretty good job of it, of making it well done, but not too simplistic, but also not too complicated. Now trust me, I hear you. RPG elements, stealth tactics, this is not a Zelda game. Here's where that gets interesting. So a lot of people are criticizing the fact that, it seems like Nintendo just threw a bunch of elements that worked in other games into their Zelda game. Here's my theory on it. In the demo, there are lots of trees. You start in a forest sort of area. There are apples in the trees that you can collect. How many different ways can you get the apple down? I watched hundreds of people play through this demo while I was at E3, and each person found different ways to meet their objective. Some people shot the apples down with a bow and arrow. Some people bombed the apples down with bombs. Some people climbed the tree. Climbing is another big thing in this Zelda game. Almost everything in the world can be climbed, and that is huge for an area like, say, Death Mountain, which I don't know if will be in the game, but if you wanted to climb Death Mountain, you could climb Death Mountain, and that's amazing. So you could climb the tree and get the apple, or you could just cut the fucking tree down and get the apples off the ground. So I think when Nintendo decided to put all these different elements into their new Zelda Breath of the Wild title. I think the reason why they did that is because it opens the door for personal strategy. No longer is there only one way to do things, which for so long is what people complained about with the Zelda games. There was only one way to solve a puzzle. Not anymore. No longer is there only one way to reach your objective, and I think that's what's going to reboot the series. I think that's what makes this a game changer of a Zelda title. In its essence, Zelda is a puzzle game. It's got really great story, really great characters, really action adventure, but it's really truly a puzzle game. You know, everything in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask really introduced those time elements because it had to make you think of cause and effect and how can I make this work. This is so interesting because now when they give you a puzzle, there are going to be a multitudinous of ways. I'm just making up words here because that's how astounded I am. There's gonna be so many ways to solve that puzzle. It's gonna open the door for the more complex puzzles that are gonna be way more difficult to solve, but also will be completely personal when you solve it, and that's gonna be all the more rewarding. I mean, can you imagine a game where no two players have the same game experience? Yes, but not in a Zelda game. That's the thing. All up till now, Zelda games have all been the same for every single player, and the term a puzzle that's, you know, find the key that fits the lock, right? There's a saying that goes around that of, you know, one answer to the problem, no more. And I think that's what really makes this Zelda game so exciting. And that's why they had to put all these different elements in there. For example, temperature is actually a thing in this Zelda game. So he can get too cold and he can get too hot, and he needs clothes that reflect that. They actually have cold resistance attributes, which is so cool. But let's say you're trying to go into a winter region and you don't have a tunic with cold resistance. Said that funny, tunic. If you don't have a tunic with cold resistance, what are you gonna do? In other Zelda games, you would have to say, well, I don't have that item yet. I guess I'm not ready to enter this area. Now you can go get a red chili pepper and you can cook it and you can raise your heat resistance. And so that's why they've put so many different elements and so many different possibilities into this game. It's not because they were like, let's see what works, throw everything into the pot and let's see how it tastes, which in this Zelda game, you do a lot of that when you cook. I really need a walkthrough for a recipe book or something. But I don't think they're that stupid. I really think that they were very calculated in whenever they created a problem, they also created multiple solutions. And that is going to really just rewrite this franchise. I really truly believe that this is going to make or break it. Besides all that, this is just a beautiful game. It's so fun to watch, and I played it on the Wii U. Can you just imagine what it's going to be on the NX? There is one more thing I wanted to talk about, and that's the element of technology in this Zelda game. It's very interesting what I mentioned earlier about the Sheikah Slate, about how it looks just like the Wii U gamepad. And at some points, Link will go up to a terminal in the game and hold his Sheikah Slate over it. Now, because the Sheikah Slate looks just like the Wii U gamepad, I can't help but speculate that there's a possibility that the NX will have a similar gamepad that sort of looks like a tablet thing. And it could have more NFC amiibo style capabilities of, you know, wave your controller over this console and this will happen. That's a pretty big reach, but I couldn't help but notice it. I'm just curious. It's totally possible that this gameplay demo has more information about the NX than a lot of people maybe realize. So I'm very interested to see when the information about the NX gets released, and we'll go back and look at the Zelda Breath of the Wild demo gameplay and we'll go, I get it now. It's also possible that they could be looking to the future of virtual reality. They could be thinking, okay, well, you know, maybe our systems are 5-10 years behind that, but how can we lead up with our consoles to those next steps? So It's very interesting to me to see this old world Zelda style with this very high-tech society somehow running in the background. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out. It's gonna be an amazing game. I'm gonna play the shit out of it. I will not be able to stop playing it. When it comes out, you won't see me. No one will see me for like 3 months. I'll just disappear, and I'll be collecting Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I'll be collecting boars and beetles, and I'll be writing a walkthrough recipe book. It's just, this is the kind of player that I am, and this is what's going to happen because I love Zelda and I love collecting things. Anybody who's seen my Uncharted Let's Play knows all about that. Anyways, I'll leave you with this. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a game you must try. If nothing else, don't judge this game based on how you felt about Skyward Sword. Honestly, and I truly believe this is the game Skyward Sword should have been. And I think that's why it's taking longer, and I'm happy about it. Nintendo, take all the time you need. Give me an awesome game that is as worth playing as just your gameplay demo. And from what I heard, that was only something like 1 or 2% of the entire map, and we could barely finish it in those 3 hours that we got to demo it. So I'm just so excited, and I really beg you all to give it a chance because it's really very different, a total breath of fresh air. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to SR Gaming. I hope you do subscribe because I'm definitely going to be playing Zelda Breath of the Wild when it comes out. Absolutely, without question. So hopefully you can hang around for the journey and it'll be an awesome time. Thanks again. Take care, guys.